So since the last time where I talked about the whole Oju family and basically calling them the golden bloodline of idiots, there has been even more news that came out that really just makes you want to talk about them all over again. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do today. This is gonna be like a supplementary video on the golden bloodline of idiots. So we can't start talking about the golden bloodline of idiots without talking about the origin, the big daddy himself, which is Sunday Silence. So by now you probably heard the name Sunday Silence, the stallion who without exaggeration shaped the modern Japanese horse racing scene, and even within Uma Musume his influence is everywhere. For example, Manhattan Cafe's imaginary friend in the anime is hugely referenced to Sunday Silence because of how, you know, the in real life Manhattan Cafe looks almost identical to Sunday Silence. But beyond that legacy, like, what kind of horse was he really? So Sunday Silence was born on March 25th of 1986 at the Oak Cliff Fruitbeds breeding farm, and his father is Halo and his mother is Wishing Well. So Arthur Hancock, who owned half of Sunday Silence during Sunday Silence's racing career, once recalled seeing Sunday Silence as a foal at the Stone Farm in Kentucky. And while the other foals were basically sleeping and nursing, Sunday Silence was already tearing up across the field with a sharp 45-degree turns, like he was drifting basically, weaving between mares full of restless energy. And Hancock recalled thinking that that horse sure can fly. But you know, being the progenitor of the golden bloodline, something has to go awry. And as a baby, Sunday Silence fell deadly ill with a severe case of diarrhea, and he needed 23 liters of fluid in just 3 hours, a dose that would have killed most foals outright. But even then, Sunday Silence refused to give up, and even Hancock said like it was kind of spooky how he was able to go through and power through all that pain. But fate wasn't done testing Sunday Silence yet. When Hancock was putting Sunday Silence up for sale at the Keeneland Stakes, no one wanted to purchase Sunday Silence. His crooked knees, unimpressive bloodline, and weak build turned buyers away, and he was bought back for just $1,700. So they got back again later on, and same story. And the final bid for Sunday Silence was around $32,000. It was basically Hancock buying his own horse back again. So it's rejection after rejection. And what makes things even worse is that on the returning trip, the driver that was transporting Sunday Silence suffered a fatal heart attack, and then the van crashed, and most of the horses in the van actually died, but somehow Sunday Silence survived, albeit a little bit injured, barely able to walk. And you know, once again, the vets have little hope of him just recovering. But about a week later, you know, Sunday Silence just stopped running again. You know, he just said like, I don't care, this is but a scratch. But finally, with a twist of fate, Hancock found partners to back the horse, and Sunday Silence went into training, and this is where the unwanted colt slammed the faces of every doubter in history. Out of Sunday Silence's 14 races, Sunday Silence actually won 9 races, and with his other 5 races he never finished off the board. Like, he won the Kentucky Derby and he won the Breeders' Cup Classic without being from a very good pedigree, with his rivalry with Easygoer being one of the most famous rivalries of that era. That just shows how much grit and shows how much power, you know, even a horse which wasn't bred by royalty could look like. But despite his brilliance, breeders still rejected him. His pedigree, his temperament, his crooked legs, like it's just too many red flags, and he was seen as a fluke, kind of like Taya Moparo. But thankfully, Zenya Yoshida of the Shadai Stallion Station offered to buy him, and Hancock, whom was in debt and out of options, reluctantly agreed. And when Sunday Silence left for Japan, Hancock admitted, I loaded him myself, and when the van went down the drive, I cried. So basically, the unwanted colt was exiled, but little did he know, he was about to change the horse racing scene on the other side of the world. And you know, the rest is history. In Japan, Sunday Silence finally found his destiny. He became the champion sires for 13 straight seasons, and let's just say he didn't just produce winners, he produced dynasties with stallions like Deep Impact and Stego, producing G1 winning horses that will carry his legacy into generations. So we all know about, you know, the more famous Stego children like Orfevre, like Dream Journey, like Gold Chip, but I bet you guys haven't really heard a lot about this stable child. And this stable child is, of course, Oju Chosan. So Oju Chosan was born on April 3rd of 2011 at the Bando Bokujo breeding farm, and his father is of course Stay Gold and his mother is Shadow Silhouette. And one thing to know that Shadow Silhouette is actually the daughter of Simply Chris S. So there's already a very good basis for a good racing horse. Since Oju Chosan was a son of Stay Gold, some people already had a very bad feeling for him from the start. And sure enough, he turned out to have a biting habit as he's torn his groom's clothes many times. He also was extremely clever, so if someone tried to get back at him, he'll anticipate what they're gonna do next. So nobody has ever succeeded in retaliating against Oju Chosan, and apparently he also absolutely refuses to let anyone think he's weak, and in fact he never showed a single weakness to a human. So Oju Chosan made his debut at the Tokyo Racehorse under the training of Mishiro Ogata in October of 2013 in a flat race, but unfortunately he finished 11th place in his first race and finished 8th place in his second race, and then unfortunately he got a broken front leg which forced him to take a year off. And by the time he already recovered, all of his maiden races that suited Oju Chosan had finished. So they decided to have him run at a steeplechase race. So a steeplechase race is basically a jump horse race. So horses have different obstacles where they need to jump over to finish a race, and those races actually have graded races as well. And Oju Chosan would actually find his footing over there. So at November 15th of 2014, so about 1 year after his last normal race, he competed in his first jump horse race, but unfortunately he got 14th place in that race. So after that, his trainer was passed from Ogata's to Soichiro Wada, and with Shinichi Ishigami being his primary jockey. And Oju Chosan's performance gradually improved as he would go on to win in 11 steeplechase races in a row from 2016 to 2019, and ultimately win 20 races from 40 races. And he will actually win in a total of 9 G1 races, which are all jump horse races, by the way. And if you would put that into perspective for a normal horse racing, he will be tied as the record holder with Almanai with the most G1 race wins, which is insane. And Oju Chosan's victory at the Nakayama Grand Jump in 2022 would make him the oldest horse in Japan to win in graded races, as well as him becoming the horse with the most G1 victories as a steeplechase horse. Oju Chosan actually also ran in the December 23rd, 2018 Armageddon, and he got 9th place there as well. Like, it's completely not his field of expertise, but he still finished in the top 10. Like, imagine being one of the horses that day, losing to Oju Chosan, and you know, you train for your entire life basically for the races, and you still lose to a horse that isn't even specialized in your kind of race. It's also worth noting that even though Oju Chosan has won a lot of jump horse races, the way he wins those races is kind of fascinating, because unlike other normal horses which actually jump over the obstacles, Oju Chosan kind of just crashes into them, like crashes through the obstacles. So he doesn't really even jump over the obstacles, but you know, whatever makes him win, I guess. And he will retire in December 2022, and he will now be standing as a breeding stud at the Versalius farm in Hokkaido. What's more impressive is that usually like jump horses are all gelding, so gelding means like they can reproduce, but you know, somehow, you know, Oju Chosan is just that guy, just that Chad, that he was able to breed anyways. So you know, just the aura of the Stego family, you know, passing on to him. Have you guys ever seen a horse fly? Maybe do a little sky-high tail step? Well, if you haven't, take a look at this. So this incident happened at the 2022 Tenno show, and our subject is a son of Orfevre, Silver Sonic. Right sunny day on that day, Silver Sonic, just like the other horses, was getting ready for a race of their lifetime. And as the gates opened, Silver Sonic decided to dump his jockey, and you might thought at this point his race was over. But his race was just getting started, because even without his jockey, he was determined to run the whole race course, and in the end he actually got a second place, albeit a disqualified second place. And after the race, he did kind of like a victory lap, mimicking his uncle Gold Chip, and he was hyped. He was soaking in all of the praises from the crowd, and maybe because of how hyped up he was by the cheers, Silver Sonic makes an attempt to jump over the outside barrier fence, but clip his leg and crashes down to the ground. And if you were there at that time, you would have been worried about Silver Sonic, because that was a very nasty fall that he took, and it would have the possibility to cause the horse very serious injuries. And in the aftermath, he flails around for a bit and then completely stops moving, and the cheers quickly turned silent as everyone feared that, he might have got cooked. So his team and veterinarians run over to do a checkup on him. His groom is in tears, and after nearly 2 straight minutes of Silver Sonic just lying there motionless, he decided to wake up, probably after his groom was constantly crying out to him in tears, basically, that the Silver Sonic would actually pop right back up on his feet, as if nothing has happened. And it turns out he was just soaking on the ground, chewing on some grass, probably because he was so embarrassed that he ate shit in front of tens of thousands of people. What's even crazier is that the jockey for Silver Sonic that day was Yuga Kawada, and Yuga Kawada is actually the same jockey of Queen's Walk, whom also unseated Kawada from her before the race at the Niigata Kinen at September 1st. And just like Silver Sonic, Queen's Walk also jumped the fence, and her foot also got caught on the fence, and she fell neck first, which is crazy dangerous. And thankfully she's fine, and the only injury she got was a bruise on her hip. And the horse that won that day at the Niigata Kinen was Shira Kendo, which roughly translates to, I guess, not sure though. So I guess the horse was not sure if he could win, but still win. It's kind of poetic and it's kind of funny. You just can't make this shit up that you got dismounted by 2 horses, and those 2 horses did the same thing by jumping a fence and getting caught on the fence and ate shit on the ground afterwards. There's also a picture where after Silver Sonic fell, another horse was seen checking up on him. That horse is actually a daughter of Orfevre. Her name is Melody Lane. Melody Lane is actually one of the tiniest horses that has ever ran in, a graded race, with her only weighing about 338 kilograms. To put that into perspective, a normal racehorse would weigh around 450 to 500 kilograms. And here's a comparison with her and another racehorse, and she seemingly inherited her small stature from her grandfather Staygold and also her uncle Dream Journey, with Staygold and Dream Journey both having the stature of a pony. And she's actually the lightest horse to ever win a race in the entire JRA. What's funny is that she actually goes against her bloodline, and she's actually very sweet, but she does have a little bit of a tendency to pose in front of cameras. So you could say that she actually inherited a little bit of Gold Chip's genes in her. At this point, I'm not even surprised, it's just typical Stego clan stuff. So since we just finished talking about Orfevre's children, let's go back and talk about a story about Orfevre. So this story happens by the time where Orfevre already has won his Triple Crown, and this is actually his final race in his career, which is the Armakinen. As Ikazoe was preparing for, the final race with Orfevre, he heard of a boy who loved Orfevre very much and really wanted to meet Ikazoe and Orfevre, and the boy was gravely ill and could die at any moment. So Ikazoe himself, a father of a girl, was very passionate, and with the approval from Sunday Racing and Northern Farm, invited the boy to the farm. There he appeared with Orfevre in their full racing attire, and while Ikazoe was worried that Orfevre would actually hurt the child, with Orfevre having the tendency to bite and kick Ikazoe himself and also trainers, but surprisingly, Orfevre actually let the boy pat his head as much as the child wanted. This may be surprising to a lot of people, but horses actually have the tendency to be very caring and friendly towards babies and also other animals. For example, there are accounts of Sunday Silence being very gentle towards babies and also animals. So the visit gone really well, and that really fulfilled the boy's dream. But sadly, the boy didn't get to see Orfevre's final run as he passed just 2 weeks before the Armageddon. So Ikuzoe decided to dedicate that run to the boy. And then that race, Orfevre completely destroyed his opponents, basically leaving his opponents in the dust, including Goldship. And he won that race by about 6 horse lengths. So a total domination at his final race. And Ikuzoe later said that Orfevre's challenge was in his concentration. His focus switch is different from other horses, so I wanted to make sure it didn't break until the very end. That's why I only urged him in the stretch. That big move, Orfevre made it on his own. So it is as if Orfevre knew it was on the line, and it wasn't just about his final race, it was about performing brilliantly and, you know, making that boy in heaven see his final race. At the end of the race, Ikuzoe actually pointed to the sky, signaling to the boy that Orfevre won. I also do really adore Orfevre's relationship with Ikuzoe. There were of course times where Orfevre and Ikuzoe were at odds with each other, where Orfevre was seen just, you know, trying to kick Ikuzoe. But there are also times where they are kind of playful. Recently there was a clip where Orfevre was sticking his tongue out, letting Ikuzoe play with it. You know, very similar to a certain Uma Musume who, you know, also enjoys sticking her tongue out. So that's it for all the side stories I want to talk about for, you know, the whole golden bloodline of idiots. But in reality, you know, not all of them are idiots. They really just act, you know, silly sometimes, just like humans do. And, you know, that's what I really found the most intriguing about, you know, this clan of horses. I also do know other stories involving like Phenomenal being like a very strict drill sergeant, and also stories about Lucky Lilac, who is Orfevre's daughter in real life, and she is also in Uma Musume. And Silver Sonic, believe it or not, after retirement became a steeplechase horse, just like Oju Chosan. But what I really want to include in this video is just more prominent stories from the Stakeold family. But I may talk about them in another video, especially Lucky Lilac, where I do want to make a dedicated video just for her. So hope you enjoyed this video, and if there is something else that I'm missing, I'll be sure to put it in like a community post or something. But that's all I want to talk about today. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Uma Musume video.